Windfall. Windfall is the story of nobody, played by Jason Segel, who is attempting to rob a wealthy couple played by Jesse Plemons and Lily Collins. What starts off at an innocent attempt at a robbery spirals out of control as things get unpredictable, stakes and tensions build, and things just spiral out of control. Nobody has to figure a way out of this situation without being found out by the police. And we have our movie. This movie is a case of having a really awesome trailer that got me excited, but ended up being a pretty forgetful movie. Ultimately, I'd recommend passing on it because it just didn't really land very well. Despite its interesting choices, the movie's execution just falls short in my opinion. There are bright spots in this movie that have interesting scenes and have really interesting conversations that attempt at being something more, but by the time the credits roll, there are a lot of unanswered questions that just really kind of ruin everything. And couple that with characters who contradict who they are in their morality, along with unclear messages and themes, and you get a pretty good recipe for forgetfulness by the time the movie ends. However, I will say this movie was incredibly efficient in the fact that it had 4 cast members, and they're officially credited as Nobody, CEO, Wife, and Gardener. So let's start off with what I really enjoyed about this movie. This movie did have potential and had some good scenes in it. Windfall takes the time to turn mundane moments and attempt to make them something more by having really interesting conversations and messages. The only issue is it doesn't jot up anything more to just being an attempt. It attempts to do it, it just doesn't successfully follow through. It feels as though the movie kind of dips its toe in the water to have deeper messages and dialogue to reflect on, but as soon as it dips its toe in the water, it jumps straight out of the pool and runs 100 yards away from it. Just when these conversations between characters start to pick up, we immediately move on to the next scene, which just kind of leave a feeling of emptiness in your stomach. Also, I really enjoyed Lily Collins' performance. I thought she was the standout. Whether it's disdain or compassion, Lily Collins sells that role on every single beat. There are moments in this movie where she doesn't give dialogue at all, but you can still kind of figure out and pinpoint exactly how she's feeling, what she's thinking, and what she might do next. She elevates her characters in a variety of ways, and I'm glad she was one of the focal points in this movie. Now, what did I not like so much about this movie? There are so many unanswered questions by the time the movie ends. As the movie's kind of building, you start to get these questions formed about these characters, and you think to yourself that they'll be answered by the time the movie ends. However, by the time the credits roll, I was left with more questions than answers, which is just really disappointing, especially at the fact that you stick around for an hour and a half only to have not everything answered and fulfilled. I get it, there are movies that do like to have some cliffhanger endings. This movie does not fit that category. It just totally ignores some of the questions it poses throughout its runtime. That feeling of not really understanding or knowing truly who these characters are just leaves you with a sour taste in your mouth, and it really makes the overall experience feel incomplete. Also, some of the character decisions are nonsensical. What I mean by that is the fact that the movie frames these characters and morality in a certain way, but by the time the film ends, they do things that compromise what we know about them, which makes you wonder if you really knew anything about them at all. Which kind of stinks because any attempt that you had at trying to empathize with these characters is kind of tossed out the window because you feel like you don't truly understand who they are or what they're about. It doesn't really give you much to latch onto or really to support in the movie. Also, this movie has really unclear motivations and messages. Windfall has these conversations that attempt to extract these deeper meanings and deeper messages, but these messages are unclear and leave you confused as to why they're even brought up in the first place. As these characters start to spend time with one another, they have more conversations, but they turn into verbal jousts with one another. Within these exchanges, they bring up these particular viewpoints that they have on certain issues, but it feels like they're just kind of yammering at each other. And when you're trying to convey the movie's most important messages through bickering and yammering at each other, it just comes across as shallow. You feel more annoyed by the messages because of the bickering rather than focusing solely on the messages. It's about the delivery, and this movie just doesn't deliver these messages well. The manner in which they say it just does not add levity or importance to the things that they're trying to convey. Friends, in the end, I'm gonna have to give Windfall a 4.5 out of 10. I thought it was it was pretty forgettable. Friends, have you seen Windfall? If so, what'd you think of it? You know where the comment section is. Let me know. Thanks so much for watching another Bankrupt Hippo movie review. If you like this, click right here if you'd like to see more. I've been Bryson. Until next time, have a great day.